I've been blacklisted for a long time now in Swaziland by the pink list killers, by the world authorities who will not give me any passport, by the banks who will not have me open a bank account, and by YouTube who deleted entire channels of mine and about 400 videos deleted that are gone forever now. So if you punch the words "The Order of the Garter" in YouTube, my film with 10,000 views will never be shown. But instead of that, even videos with only 50 views, and even all the garter pranks, and muff divers sticking their heads under a woman's dress, taking a female's garter off her thighs with their teeth and whatnot. All of this is shown to the slaves and by the slaves, but not my film. Everything else but my film, because it was made by Sean Ross. And so all my films get shadow banned. So not many people are offered the opportunity to watch and learn from them. Here, look, this is YouTube here. I punched in Order of the Garter in the search machine. So here's a film with 5,000 views. And if I scroll down, look. These are all the official ones, you know, from the media, the Telegraph, the AP here. Of course, they come first, you know, Pharaoh's word. You know, look, NBC Sports. I mean, what's NBC Sports got to do with the Order of the Garter? It's a good sport, you know, to put a garter around your thigh, isn't it? You know, British Pathé. Well, of course, they know they're supposed to tell you the official story, the Daily Mail. You know, 3,000 views here. Look, only 93 views. This one here. Global News, AP. Oh, hello, darling. Yeah. Ah, this one here. Enoch Metatron. Here's my name, but my film doesn't get shown. It doesn't even say Order of the Garter in the title, and it shows. How does he do that? The Garter. Oh, look here. Here you got all the muff divers here. You know, he's going to dive on the dress here. Look, and everybody clapping. Oh, is that lovely, eh? That's where all the slaves all. It's the sort of thing they, you know, that occupies their lives. Yeah, where they, you know, the Order of the Garter. Yeah, only 130 views. There's the Octagon, 300 views. Yeah, now, but not my video. Everything else but my video. Look, nothing. Nothing at all. I'm completely shadow banned. You know? Maybe I better stop, you know. 223 views, 470 views. I've got 10,000 views. It doesn't show. 235, 155 views, but not my video. Nowhere to be seen. Completely shadow banned. See? The YouTube Nazis and the Google Nazis, they don't like what I'm doing. 122 views. You know. You remember that picture? It was black with a the crosshairs in it. No, not my video. Well, I'm not gonna show that to the end, you know. Well, to the end it's interesting. You're gonna see all the move divers, but not my video. See, there's not black here. Look, all the move divers here. He's gonna do some move diving. Go under the skirts. Oh yeah, that's what the slaves like. Oh, isn't that fantastic? Hey, what a level. Go find the garter. Yeah. That's funny, isn't it? Yeah. Some more move divers. The pudding gets the garter. Oh, okay. If you say so. I don't want to say it. Yeah. More move divers. And here. Yeah. Royal move divers. That's the level of humanity, eh? So this after the move diving. Oh, cheers! Wasn't it great? Look, wasn't it great, eh? Did some move diving. 65 views. The Night of the Garter. Well, okay, people. You got an impression, eh? It's I'm not in it. I better stop. They threw me out of Daily Motion. They threw me out of Vimeo. In Israel, I hardly get any views by it. You know, nobody is following me. Here in YouTube, I'm shadow banned. In Brighteon, I couldn't even make an account. Neither I could make an account in YouTube, but they didn't let me upload. I just have no chance. I don't have a place where I can make my videos, really. Well, for the moment I have, but I'm not sure how long it's going to take. Entirely blacklisted all over. Here, and YouTube even takes away my own comments, like under this video here. Here's the title: Behold the pale horse unicorn of the Order of the Garter for the union of the Old World's Order with the New World's Order. It is 10,000 views, August 15th. And I'm very sure I took my time, a couple of days, because, you know, I got 600 comments here, so it needs days, you know, in which time I can't make any other videos because I'm commenting, you know. But, you know, I don't like it when YouTubers, you know, they get arrogant and, you know, because they have a lot of views, I don't want to do that, and they never answer you anymore. That's not my thing. So you see, I'm logged in with Sean Ross here. I can leave a comment here. Yeah, comment Sean Ross. There you go. But you know, all my comments, they disappeared. Like this one here with 83 thumbs up, and there are 4 replies. I did have my comment there, and it just disappeared. Look, it's not there anymore. Here, 15 replies, 54 thumbs up. Caesar did his thumb up, eh? But you see, my logo, the green logo, it's never, it's nowhere to be seen anymore. See? So YouTube even deletes my own comments, you know, so people they don't even see it that I'm commenting. So this is the logo, to show it one more time, with the glasses and the flag. I didn't have anything else with me, you know, to make an icon, so I just used the stuff I had in my backpack. You see, it's nowhere to be seen. And it was there. So YouTube is even deleting my own comments, you know. What a shame. Canada belongs to the crown, and the Canadians are slaves of the royals. Therefore, the Canadian flag has the red and white colors of the pharaonic royal houses of the Per Het White House and the Per Tasser Red House. It has a square in white for the concept of four, and in red a big fleur-de-lis and symbol of the French nobility, as both the Royal Old World Order and the Templar New World Order were founded in France, and the New World Order eventually realized in Switzerland. And each one of the three parts has again a fleur-de-lis. So there are altogether 4 times a fleur-de-lis in it, which is in itself the concept of 3 and times 4, saying concept of 4 and 3, meaning square and compass, while all the dumb slaves think it's a maple leaf. Yeah, sure it is. Here, look, the whole thing is a fleur-de-lis, and each one of them is another fleur-de-lis. It's always 3 things in it, 1, 2, 3, and the whole thing has this 1, 2, 3, with the middle one, in the middle. So pharaohs, they thought, oh look, what a magnificent tree, there's a fleur-de-lis in it, and the whole thing here is a square, and this is the Trinity here. So the concept of 3, like 1, 2, 3. So here's the concept of 3. And this, the square in white for the New World Order, is the concept of 4. So it does say square and compass. And of course, the New World Order in white of the pair head, it's squeezed in between the Old World Order where they come from and in the middle. That's why the fleur-de-lis is red, because red is the color of our masters. And underneath, in this picture here, there's even a Templar's Tau symbol, coming from the pharaonic Ankh symbol for life. The life of Pharaoh's aristocracy only, of course. And of course, the fleur-de-lis is in red for the Old World Order, our masters' origin, and the white for the New World Order, squeezed in between 2 times the Old World Order nobility, which was before and after, and always will be. Well, at least that's what they hope to be. So you see here's if you think the upper part away, you've got a Tau symbol here under here, the T, like going from here to here, and leave this away, which is from the Ankh symbol. If you think here, the round circle on top of this, you get the Ankh symbol. So even this is, in this picture here, there's definitely this T integrated in it, which is not a coincidence. Oh, here you see the other flag of Canada, of Quebec, and it has the fleur-de-lis, which is the symbol of the French nobility, and which is the same as we just saw in red. The country has it all over. And even the English nobility, they come out of the French nobility originally. And before that, they were in Rome, chased away. Before that, in Greece. Before that, in Persia. And before that, they all came from Egypt. So you got the same trinity here. The big one here, and then 2 at each side. This is in blue for the war and white for the New World Order. So both the Old World Order, with French as the worldwide aristocratic language, and the Templar New World Order from Troyes, were made in France. And French women, through the jus primae noctis, made an alliance with the Old World Order nobility. All in all, leading to the murder of the French man in World War I, making a new race of French men, who are merely sex rabbits of the bred human race, who only think la femme and l'amour all the time, and therefore Frenchy betraying the JayWalkers to the Nazis in this Horus matrix breeding of modern man. And as the JayWalker women stayed like 100% loyal to their man, well, they had to go too, in a final solution, through the alliance of the European bitches and witches with Pharaoh's aristocracy. Nobody saw it coming. Well, why do you think that France is the first European country with that extensive amount of Muslims? Answer: they're next online for Pharaoh's Horus Matrix, made in France. Therefore, it had to be in France that the global kickoff message for the actual bug war against humanity had to be given from out of France and from the very place the Knights Templars would have been annihilated if they wouldn't have had their safe haven in the Swiss Alps. The global kickoff was on April 15th, 2019, when the Paris Cathedral Notre Dame burned down, the very same place where the French king burned the Templars in 1314. And April 15th, the very same date, the king's prosecutor Guillaume de Nogaret died, about which I made this video here on my channel Homeland Security, and the title is Suspicious Occult Coincidences, Notre Dame Arson Fire in Paris, related to Freemason Knights Templars. So Guillaume de Nogaret is the most hated and most feared man of all times for the Knights Templars and their Freemasons. Just as the Notre Dame is the most hated and most feared place on earth for the Knights Templars and their Freemasons, making it both the most perfect date and perfect place for the global bug war kickoff signal for a big international event being seen by the whole of humanity. So no risks that any one of them would miss out the message being sent through this occultly loaded global event. So just a few months late after the kickoff, just the time needed for necessary preparations, their bug war started 8 octagon months later, in December 2019. The time needed to inform all their total lie media, newspapers, TV stations, politicians, Freemason lodges, and the worldwide nobility. The fixed date for their bug war was, of course, on a Friday the 13th of the very same year of 2019, and octo months later. And in fact, the global bug wars against humanity started on Friday the 13th of December 2019, with Pharaoh's global media starting to indoctrinate our heads about their new invisible enemy all around us in the air we breathe. And look, they even say it themselves. The Homeland Security, they even say it, the invisible enemy. And of course, the government themselves knows best about invisible enemy, because they produce them themselves, as here in a CIA manual entitled Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. The invisible enemy, like the invisible hand of Freemasonry. They even say it themselves here in the middle of the Templar's cross. Do not forget. Yeah, Friday the 13th. So Friday the 13th in 1307 was the date on which the Knights Templars got arrested, imprisoned, and consequently tortured, which is a date their New World Order Freemasons use to attack humanity. Like the big wave of kebab war attacks starting on Friday the 13th of November 2015, and of course in Paris, France, where also the Old World Order and the New World Order started in France. And here you see the multi-site, multimodal terrorist attacks in Paris on Friday the 13th. You see, there were 4 attacks simultaneously, which is the concept of 4, which is us, the base of a pyramid. The base of a pyramid is a square with 4 corners or 4 sides, which is us. We are down at the hierarchy, down at the pyramid. So this is a war against us. There is the concept of 4. This is not a coincidence, people. Through the kebab wars, our masters had hoped to spark a global race war, but it didn't work, because the white slaves are tired of waging wars after 2 devastating nobility world wars. This is called chronic combat fatigue. So they came up with Plan B, the bug wars, with the B for bug. Come on now, people. Even the children know that B is for bug. Please understand, I can't pronounce nor show certain words, nor show certain images, because of global censorship and the machine recognizing certain words and images. So I had to invent my own words like bug war, kebab war, JayWalker, pink list killer, Nubians, and the rest. Sorry for that. Just outsmarting the machine. So, because of the censorship, I have to let you read this in silence. It means, I can't pronounce it for you, but it means kill the stars. Just like the Canadian flag showing the concept of 4 and 3, there's also this Harry Potter logo of the Deathly Hallows, where you can see 3 triangles and 1 circle for the concept of 3, and altogether 4 times. And 2 times a 90 degrees square made by the vertical line on the horizontal line. So here you see, like, also this is 1 triangle, the big one. This is number 1. Here's 1, a triangle, and here's 1. So there are 3, and the circle. All of these are the concept of 3, so 4 times, which is the concept of 4 also. And here, this line here, the vertical touching the horizontal, it gives 90 degrees here. Thus, the logo saying square and compass for the initiated ones, and being smacked into the subconscious minds of our children, preparing the erasure of innocence on another level. All these logos, secret symbols, and encoded messages through numbers are very important to our masters, like the numbers of the beast 666, which I explain in this video here. After a vision I had 40 years ago, that the 666 is in fact www. The internet, being created by CERN, Switzerland, through which you can buy or sell. And this video, I made it like 2012, almost 10 years ago, on my channel Gatzefratz. Yeah. So the first step you have to take if you want to understand this number 666 is to visualize this number into Roman ciphers, because at the time, like in the year 70, when the vision was received, we didn't have these Arabic ciphers yet, which we call Arabic ciphers, but in fact they come from India. So, and these ciphers, they came with the Islamic expansion in the 7th century, before we had these sort of ciphers. And if you have a vision, which I had, it's many times it's blurry, you know, and you have to interpret it. So the thing he saw was this here, but there was nothing in that time that resembled this sort of a W. So with all the lines here, you know, like this, he thought it was this 666 and not this. And with this you can buy and sell. And now very soon, with their bug war and their green pass, it's already happening. They're going to stop you from buying and selling unless you have the green pass. And then you can go into the internet and buy and sell, even in shops. And this is happening now. And the Roman W, it was like, you know, like this, very round. It's called the uncial. So there was really nothing else that resembled this. Only this resembled this. And this here shouldn't be visualized like this, but it should be like this. But 666 is maybe not the same as 666, which stands in fact on the $1 bill inside the MDCCLXXV1 for 1776, where 666 is DCLXV1. So as you all know, there's nothing new. This here, MDCCLXXV1, it adds up to 1776. But in this number, it stands on the $1 bill. Well, I'm not going to show you that thing again, the $1 bill, that means. But here, DCLXV1, it stands for 666. You know, the D is 500 and the C is 100. So that makes a 6 or 600, you know, in 666. Here's the 6. Then LX, L is 50. You know, you can find it here, 50. Plus 10, it's 60. So that, you know, covers one of the O's of 600. So you get 660. And then V1 is 6. And that covers the last O from 600. So inside the $1 bill, it does say 666. And of course, the usual pink list killers, they love to wear t-shirts with this letters on it, which is the Roman numeral of the beast. Now, D was 500, C is 100, so you get 600. L is 50, X is 10, so you get 60, so you already got 660, and V1 is 6, so it says 666. And all the pink list killers, they know this. But now, the interesting thing I'm going to show you now, if you distract this number, the DCLXV1, from the MDCCLXXV1, you get another number. And if you distract 666 from 1776, you get 1110, which is also a binary number of ones and O's, like used in your computer. And now just think of what I just told you before, that the 666, if you visualize it as a V1, V1, V1 Roman ciphers, you get www dot, the internet. The internet, binary code. Thus, reading in the binary code 16161610, or 1DC 1LX 1V1. And what happened in the year 1110? Here you can see it, 1110. The Order of the Brothers Hospitallers of Jerusalem was created. They later became known as the Order of the Hospitallers, rivals of the Order of the Temple. Well, they were not really rivals, it was all the same bunch. So, what happens if you distract the ones who helped founding the New World Order from the year in which the New World Order was founded in the US? So you get 1776 minus 1110 is 666. So these were like the ones who helped founding the New World Order when they were founded. And this is the date when the New World Order was founded in the US. And if you distract that, you get this number. So, what happens if you distract the ones who helped founding the New World Order from the year in which the New World Order was founded in the US? You get 1776 minus 1110 is 666. So 1776, the year the New World Order got founded in the US, you distract this number of the ones who helped founding the New World Order, these Hospitallers, and you get this number. And as it says, Novus Ordo Seclorum on the $1, actually meaning a new secular order. So the Antichrist will consequently not be some religious pope, but a secular person. Seclorum means worldly, as in secular. Seclorum, secular. It's almost the same word. The new worldly order. And here is the order of the Knights Templars of Jerusalem. It says the secular order militantes of the Temple of Jerusalem. A pluribus unum on the $1 means one out of many. Here, one from many. As in, where we go one, we go all. From the Templars saying, one for all and all for one. e pluribus unum. One from many. Same thing. The Antichrist is not anti or against Christ, or as Americans say, anti-Christ. As in the English language, it is a very bad translation out of Latin and leading to all those false Hollywood movies showing the dude as the devil, which he's not. In British English, you say anti, which should have been pronounced anti in proper English grammar pronunciation, just as the Americans pronounce the word anti as it should be, according to the English pronunciation rules. Therefore, in English, the word Antichrist is being pronounced correctly and with an E at the end of anti, but it is being written in a totally misleading way with an I at the end of anti, and of course done so on purpose by the secular masters. So in French they make a difference here, as you can see here. This is the real word of it, anti. And in English, you would pronounce this anti here, and then they write it like this. And this you would pronounce anti-Christ, Christ in English. But because this here, anti-Christ, it actually is antichrist. So that's why this here, the writing of today in English, is being pronounced like this here, antichrist. It's all mixed up on purpose. And this anti, it comes from the word anterior, which is correctly written in French, but not at all in English. So from now on, all you Bible bangers, please don't write this word in the misleading Hollywood manner anymore. Here it says anti, from anterior, anti. So, in fact, the bloke is anti, with an E at the end, from the word anterior, meaning before, as being written here in French in the correct way, with an E, anti. So, here's the guy coming before Christ and paving the way, apparently, whom the JayWalkers call the Moshiach ben Yosef, paving the way for the real deal, called Moshiach ben David, their Messiah. So you see, their Moshiach ben David has a crown, because he's from the royal house of King David, just like the Christian Jesus is. And the Moshiach ben Yosef has a crown of thorns, because in the JayWalker books he's described as a good man fighting for justice, who has suffered tremendously. So, whether the bloke be the Christian Jesus Christ or the JayWalker Moshiach ben David, in both cases he is from the nobility house of King David, who was a slayer of man, a genocider, and a collector of women, whom he no doubt raped as well. So you see, I read the Bible, I read the Old Testament. This is from the Old Testament, Samuel 18, 6-8. I also read the New Testament. I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Muslim, and I'm not a JayWalker. So this is from the New King James Version. I am a historian. So here it says, So the people went out into the field of battle against Israel. You see, a battle against Israel, against the JayWalkers. And the battle was in the woods of Ephraim. The people of Israel were overthrown there before the servants of David. Now, who are the servants of David? You know, we can see it happening today with the global blue army killing us, you know, preparing for the big kill in their uniforms, just like the Einsatzgruppen, the SS, you know. And a great slaughter of 20,000 took place that day. I mean, 20,000 is a lot in our days, but in those days, you know, it was immense. So King David and his servants, you know, meaning his soldiers and his uniformed armed force, they murdered 20,000 Israelites. I read in the German version there it really says the word Israelites. So King David, he murdered 20,000 Israelites, well, etc. And well, I could do a whole video about this, so I'm not going to show that all to you here. But King David, he did one genocide after the other. The guy was a butcher, a genocider, and a collector of women. Yeah, you can read it yourself. You know, it's not me, you know, who have been writing this down. So he murdered 20,000 JayWalkers. Why? Because this is a king. Yeah, he's a pharaoh. The whole Old Testament, it's only about kings and genocides, I tell you. It's a horrible book. It's only about one genocide after the other, and the kings are doing it. And it was not only King David and King Solomon. There are loads of like Middle Eastern pharaonic kings, you know, doing this. And even killing their own JayWalkers. Israel, here it says. Yeah, Samuel 23. And David came to his house at Jerusalem. And the king took the 10 women, his concubines. You see, his concubine. What is a concubine? You know, you use them in bed, don't you? Right? Whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in ward, and fed them, but went not in unto them. Now, why, if he doesn't go into them, you know, or unto them, why do they call them the concubines? Come on now, eh? So they were shut up unto the day of their death, living in widowhood. And here as well, you know, the story about Bathsheba. There was this soldier, and King David really liked his wife, so I had the soldier killed, you know, send him into the war, to the front as cannon fodder, so you could take the woman. He was really a collector of women, you know. Reminds me of Prince Andrew and the Jeffrey Epstein Island of the Nobility, which was a Templars island. So David might not have killed Goliath. David is perhaps best known for fighting and killing the giant and Philistine champion Goliath with a slingshot, a suitable, awesome fate for the future king of Israel. But the Bible betrays some doubt about who deserved the credit. The second book of Samuel states that it was a man called Elhanan, rather than David, who bested the Philistine giant. He was both hero and anti-hero, so not, should say, anti-hero. Right? So the Americans pronounce it right. David, as depicted in the Hebrew Bible, is above all a man of profound contradictions. He's described as a man after God's own heart by one biblical author, and a blood-stained fiend of hell. by another. The word Satan is used in the Hebrew Bible to describe David as an adversary. You see, Satan, yeah? And the Messiah is supposed to come out of the house of David, out of this Satan, yeah? The Moshiach. Even the Hebrews, they say Satan. And he was really. He's depicted as feigning madness in a cowardly attempt to avoid the wrath of the king of the Philistines. And he carried off the wife of a man named Nabal after shaking him down for flocks and herds under threat of violence. God, do the same to me and more, vowed David as he and his army approached the estate of Nabal. According to the earthly translation of the King James Version, well, I read it in the German version, same thing. And if I leave alive until morning a single one who pisses against the wall. David was a stud. David means beloved of both God and humankind, especially women. It was the latter who used to chant, much to the consternation of David's predecessor, King Saul. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This guy was a butcher. And out of this guy, should come out of the house of David, the royal house of David, with a crown on his head, should come this Messiah or the Christ or the Moshiach. Come on, people, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. He even killed his own JayWalker people by the tens of thousands. So, well, you can read the rest yourself. I'm not a theologist. I'm an historian. And I've got a real bad gut feeling about this because it doesn't fit. So King David is a bit of a royal mixture between the Afghan slayer, Prince Harry, and the child rapist, Prince Andrew. You see, nothing has changed. And it's still these pharaonic princes and kings abusing the slaves. So, honestly, as an historian, there's no good prognostics about this Messiah thing coming out of Pharaoh's house of manslayers and women rapists. I've got a bad gut feeling about it. It says in the Bible in Samuel 18:7 that King David, ancestor of the awaited one, killed 20,000 Israelites, and in Samuel 23 he imprisoned 10 girlies like Prince Andrew on Jeffrey Epstein's island. So King David and his men of aristocratic descent murdered 20,000 JayWalkers, just as we see it happening today with Pharaoh's worldwide army killing us. And you see how they wrote it down, 20,000. They wrote everything down, all the numbers, just as the Nazis did. And it's still this, and they are the same ones. The Nazi Templars, it's the aristocracy, it's Pharaoh, like King David. They're writing the numbers down because they like it. Well, I'd say we clean it up ourselves, the Germanic way, instead of waiting for some Messiah out of Pharaoh's royal house of butchers and child rapists. And look, there's even the Royal Gibraltar Police. Well, whom do they serve, eh? Just like King David and his servants killing 20,000 JayWalkers. These are the servants of the royals, the Templars here, Le Fleur de Lis, where they came from, which is the symbol of the French nobility, another Templars cross. They are the ones they serve, and it says in the logo, the octagon logo, by the way. We all know by now what Pharaoh is doing to our Australian brothers and sisters being put in real concentration camps today, September 2021, and coming up for all of us worldwide. As concentration camps is a pharaonic invention anyway. And look whom they serve with honor, this pharaonic royal worldwide blue army. Yes, the Templars and the crown. Or do you think that red and white Nazi Templar cross in the original colors and Pharaoh's crown, also with red and white in it, for Pharaoh's red house per Tasser and Pharaoh's white house per Het, are accidentally there on the enemy's badge saying, "Oh, with honor we serve." Pharaoh's worldwide blue army serves the crown and the Nazi Templars, and they definitely not serve the people, nor your children. So, one more time. In French, they say it right, calling the dude l'Antéchrist, the one who comes before. By the way, the JayWalkers don't hate the Christian Christ. They just don't accept him as their Moshiach or Messiah, because in their Moshiach story there is no resurrection. Well, that's all. Their Messiah only comes once and not twice. And it even says so in the Bible, in Corinthians 15, 12 to 22, the resurrection of the dead. But I read it for you. But if it is preached that Christ has been raised from the dead, how can some of you say that there is no resurrection of the dead? If there is no resurrection of the dead, then not even Christ has been raised. And if Christ has not been raised, our preaching is useless, and so is your faith. More than that, we are then found to be false witnesses about God, for we have testified about God that he raised Christ from the dead. But he did not raise him, if in fact the dead are not raised. For if the dead are not raised, then Christ has not been raised either. And if Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile. You are still in your sins. Then those also who have fallen asleep in Christ are lost. If only for this life we have hope in Christ, we are of all people most to be pitied. It's very important to understand that those bloodthirsty Romans killed and crucified Jesus on his cross, showing the horizontal and vertical rule of our masters because of Pharaoh's internal war between the horizontal New World Order and the vertical Old World Order. Here it says, the Roman Republic, I'll read it for you. Rome was founded about 509 before Christ. Romans founded a new type of government called a republic. In a republic, people chose officials to represent them. And the highest form of government in Rome was the Senate. Senators were wealthy landowners called patricians, as we can still see today. Hey, Mr. Trump, Biden, Macron, and the rest of them. So you see the Roman Parliament. So Rome was a horizontal republican rule. And Jesus, out of the royal house of King David, the vertical old world order. And this is why the Republican Romans hung that humiliating shield around his neck on the cross, saying INRI, for Jesus Nazarenus Rex Judeorum in Latin, meaning Jesus from Nazareth, the king of the JayWalkers. The whole story about the king of the JayWalkers tells the story about the nobility's internal war. And as Rome was a republic with a senate, parliament, and all that, they didn't want to hear about any royal descendants' houses and its kings with big palaces. Jesus, with only sandals on a donkey, tells the same tale and metaphor as two poor Templars on one horse. So both allegories tell the same story about poor noblemen without a kingdom, whether it be the Knights Templars or the descendants like Jesus of the King David, also without a kingdom, because the Roman Empire, the Republic, didn't want it. You see the dudes here already doing the hidden hand, the right hidden hand under the jacket, because the Freemasons, they come out of the Knights Templars. And this is old, people, this is ancient stuff, and they're already showing it. And here, look, there's the concept of three, here, to breathe in, like, which is them, meaning, you know, this is the nobility, that's where they come from. So, as there's nothing good coming out of this whole nobility, who think they are gods and sons of God, I can hardly imagine that the descendant of them and from the royal pharaonic house of King David is gonna save us. Therefore, and as everything is a lie by our masters, in which they changed the whole history by showing always themselves in the end as the heroes, the saints, the Peace Nobel Prize winners, and as the victors of everything. It must therefore be assumed that the Savior is not the one from Pharaoh's house of David, but rather the one who comes before, and consequently gets murdered by our masters, to be replaced with their own one, as usual, and as they always do. Therefore, if there will be a Saviour of man at all, it will be the Antichrist with an E, the one who comes before, whom the JayWalkers call the Moshiach ben Yosef, who has suffered tremendously to help mankind, and not the other one, the royal one, just taking all the glory for himself, for which the Moshiach ben Yosef, the anterior Christ, the Antichrist with an E, has worked so hard for. This is why the satanic Hollywood, the TV, Pharaoh's media, and all those books and newspapers all portray the one who comes before as someone bad and evil. Because in the end, their own man or entity is supposed to get all the credit in order to continue to abuse humanity. The only solution is to believe in ourselves and clean the mess up ourselves, because we can't take the risk anymore and wait any longer for that undefined celestial help without any proofs and without any certainty at all. And in that Bible, they don't even talk about you, as the Bible is an Oriental book for Middle Easterners only, in which their Middle Eastern God didn't even know about the existence of Europeans or Asians. We ain't in it. Not even in the Bible, you're in it. The Bible stops at the Mediterranean because God did not know there were any white race Europeans or Chinese. Another thing some dogmatic Bible bangers keep repeating all the time in my mails, in the comments, is the Jesuits. But no one ever tells me why, nor does anyone brings me any facts at all. So without knowing why exactly, they all say that the Jesuits control the world. Probably after having believed for so many years the JayWalkers rule the world. Or everything at the same time, probably. Okay, here we go. The Jesuits. It's very simple, if you know how the world works. So these are the two videos I'm going to refer to in a moment. Here's the title, and it is on the Israeli platform and also on YouTube, but I don't remember which channel. Maybe it's on my Gure channel, or maybe it's on my Gatsefrats channel. I don't remember. And this one as well. So there are two videos. The Swiss Bees, Home of the Devil, Part 4, in this channel here. So I already explained you in several videos how Protestantism was founded by the Knights Templars in order to destabilize the French king, who traditionally was together with the Pope and Catholicism. And therefore, only 17 years later, after the beginning of Protestantism, on October 31st in 1517, by Martin Luther in Germany, the Jesuits were founded on August the 15th, 1534, in Paris, the capital of the French king, in order to destroy his adversaries, the Protestants. It was most of all the Frenchman Pierre Favre who founded the Jesuits, accompanied by two Basques, Francis Xavier and Ignatius de Loyola, the latter becoming the first general of this French organization of the Jesuits. Here it's the same thing, as always, as Ignatius de Loyola was an aristocrat and born in a castle. He got all the glory of being the father of the Jesuits, who were in fact founded here in Montmartre, Paris, France, as the French king was behind it all in order to crush the Knights Templars, the Freemasons, and their Protestantism. You can read it. Montmartre, 15 août 1534. August the 15th, 1534. Only 17 years later, after Martin Luther went to the church in Wittenberg in Germany and put the 95 claims on the door. So on one side, Templars, the New World Order, and their Protestants. And on the other side, the Jesuits out of the Old World Order and its Catholicism. It says, a relation of the voyage to Siam, performed by 6 Jesuits sent by the French king. Although the Templars officially not existing anymore, but they were still there. The Templars and Jesuits were fierce enemies of each other at that time, but now all together peacefully amongst each other in the United World Order, in which in fact the Templars sort of won, you might say. So just as monarchs and Templars have unified in the Order of the Garter today, so have Jesuits and Templars unified, in which Templars take over the military actions for the Octagon of the Nazi Templars, and in which the Jesuits take care, well, they tend to take care of the educational and religious tasks in the Union, while the Freemasons take care of the political tasks and the bankers present the economical tasks. So I understand that when a Protestant sees so many influential personalities attending prestigious Jesuit schools, that the Jesuits therefore have presumably acquired all the power for them, totally ignoring, though, that these old enemies of Templars and Jesuits have been all united now, because they all come out of Pharaoh's aristocracy. The Knights Templars were all noblemen, and so was Ignatius de Loyola, born in the castle of Loyola, which you can see here. The masters have since long made peace with each other, but the slaves are still at war with each other and divided as usual, not knowing what's really going on. Divide et impera, divide and rule. Dumb slaves, still divided over nothing and over a problem that wasn't even theirs in the first place. All this and the 30-year war between Protestants and Catholics was all part of the internal aristocratic war within the nobility. Only the dumb slaves don't know it yet, especially those stubborn, dogmatic religious freaks, whether they are Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, or JayWalkers. The slaves are still divided over an initially internal quarrel within Pharaoh's nobility, from where the entire religion comes from anyway. Like the 42 divine principles of Ma'at, holding all the 10 commandments within, in order to make Pharaoh's obedient slaves, while our masters kill us by the millions. Our masters steal millions and use endless lies as their primary weapon against us. And we are supposed to keep some entirely useless 10 commandments out of the box of pharaonic fairy tales filled with religious hocus pocus. Another date that keeps coming back all the time in history is September the 11th, also called 9/11, or like the promulgation of the Weimar Constitution, of September the 11th, 1919, after the abdication of the German monarchy. So a very important and very bad day for Pharaoh. Here you can read it. Following the Wilhelm II abdication and the German Revolution, all German nobility as a legally defined class was abolished. On promulgation of the Weimar Constitution on 11th September 1919, you read it, 11th September. So of course, it has something to do with 9/11, because this is a very bad day for Pharaoh. Very important day. Here I go on. All such Germans were declared equal before the law. There were 22 heads of these former federal states, titled as for the four kings of Germany, Prussia, Bavaria, Saxony, and Württemberg. There were also 6 grand dukes, 5 dukes, and 7 princes, who, along with all their heirs, successors, and families, lost their title and domains. They lost their castles, they lost their titles, everything. So, this is one of the reasons, they did the New York attacks on 9/11. The German emperor fled Germany. So September the 11th, the day of the Constitution, is still remembered as a very black day for Pharaoh's nobility. Here you can read it. Kaiser Wilhelm, the Emperor of Germany, fled the country. So, on September the 11th, 1919, the monarchy lost everything in Germany, and fearing that this phenomenon would spark worldwide. Therefore, Pharaoh chose this very same date of losing everything for their 9/11 New York attacks, for the start of winning everything back. Everything they lost on that very same date. And to force humanity back into a feudal system by Pharaoh's worldwide nobility. And that's why we see the fiercest at the moment in the Crown's colonies, like in Australia. So whoever thought that 9/11 was related to the abdication of the German monarchy and its promulgation of the Constitution on September the 11th. Nice, we see. And going back even further, there's also Pharaoh's sacrificial holiday called Enkutatash on September the 11th, on 9/11, and nowadays still celebrated in Ethiopia, where they had Emperor Haile Selassie, another member of the Order of the Garter, also called Rastafari, who reigned from 1930 to 1972. There you go, you Rasta guys. Your idol here, called Rastafari, was a knight of the Order of the Garter and part of what you call Babylon. So maybe you should smoke a little less and change your name from Rastafari to Rastafari is a part of Babylon. And also your big Rasta reggae hero, Bob Marley, was a Satanist and a Freemason. Yeah, just look at the songs here. This song is entitled Cornerstone. The stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone. The stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone. You're a builder, baby, here I am, a stone. Don't you pick and refuse me, 'cause the things people refuse are the things they should choose. This is a praise to Freemasonry, the cornerstone, very important to them. You find it on the $1 bill, eh? So I propose a title for your next Rasta reggae song. Too much smoke, no good. Marijuana, weapon of Babylon, to create dumb slaves who sing the same melody over and over again for the political indoctrination hypnosis over and over again for the sleeple and narcotics, it means sleep, for the sleeple. Rastafari. Ras means a prince, an Ethiopian Semitic language. Ras almost sounding like Horos, and Ras is most likely from Horus, the prince. And Fa in Pharaonic Demotic means to arrive, and Ri the sun. And Ta, I don't know, without my books. So Rastafari means Horus arrives from the sun. And Tafari was his original name of the Emperor Haile Selassie, called the Prince Tafari, Ras Tafari. I told you so. It's always Pharaoh's aristocracy behind it all, and taking all the glory being adorned, as in that King David Messiah story. And here the Messiah is called Emperor Haile Selassie Rastafari. It's always the same master-slave show, the cat and mice show. Here it says, Rastafarianism, it's a religious cult based on a belief that Ras Tafari, the Prince Tafari, Haile Selassie, is the Messiah, and that Africa, and especially Ethiopia, is the promised land. Because Rastafari, Haile Selassie, also is a direct descendant of King David and his son King Solomon. You all see the line of the nobility here, eh? The very same religious hocus pocus to worship some pharaonic king or emperor as if he were God himself. And for the slaves, oh, so nice to be part of an influential group with big shots like kings and emperors to be honored in this pure idolatry of Pharaoh, being the total deceptive contradiction about what they sing about love and freedom and whatnot. The Emperor Haile Selassie, Rastafari, was a direct descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Therefore, the line of King David, with a crown on its head and red eyes, also the general line of the nobility, and the seal of Solomon, and also the Swiss cross. Here, this is a Swiss cross on a red underground. In the royal banner of Rastafari, the Emperor Haile Selassie, of the direct descendant of King Solomon and also of King David, of course. And of course, wearing the same pharaonic sash, octagons, and Templars crosses on his chest as the rest of these pharaohs. Here, look, there's the octagon, a Templars cross, here's the sash, And this is what a pharaoh looks like. They got these very long noses. Also, the European kings do have that. Go and have a look. So when a descendant of King David and King Solomon is wearing a whole bunch of octagons, Templars crosses, and pharaonic sashes on his chest, then what are King Solomon and King David? Well, pharaohs, of course, also called the Erev Rav, just as the rest of this worldwide nobility. Yeah, look, here's a picture of the French president Valéry Giscard d'Estaing in the 70s with his ancestor Ramesses the Great, Ramesses II, whom he had come to France and who was the mummy, of course. And at the airport of Bourget, a military airport next to Paris, the mummy was received with military honors by the Republican Guard. And I already gave you the pictures on, I think it was on my channel, Gure. And I went filming his castle this year. I made a video about this a couple of weeks back. And he was this French president and the friend of the emperor, the African emperor. Well, he was living in a real castle and of a line of real French kings, and so was his wife. Well, you can see the resemblance. It's exactly the same lineage. There's no doubt. Here, look, this is a funny French comparison. The mummy of Ramses II. It gives $3 million by the tourist a year in Egypt. And ours cost us 2.5 million euros a year. So the actual president cost about the same price as the ancestor, gives back in Egypt by the tourists. I'll let you look at this one in silence. It's the voice of the mummy talking to you. The return of the mummy. So here's the whole deal in Wikipedia about Haile Selassie, the emperor. And he was a member of the Solomonic dynasty. Oh, there it pops out. The Solomonic dynasty, also known as the House of Solomon, was a dynasty of the Ethiopian Empire formed in the 13th century. Its members claim lineal descent from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. So, and who traces lineage to Emperor Menelik, the son of King Solomon, and Makeda, the Queen of Sheba. So here is Rastafari in Wikipedia. And here it says, Rastas accord key importance to Haile Selassie, the emperor of Ethiopia between 1930 and 1974. Many regard him as the second coming of Jesus and Jah incarnate. Jah is their name for God, from Yahweh, of course, Yahweh. So it's always the aristocracy who are the holy ones and the saints and the pharaohs, and we are their slaves. And they all got lions like here and with crowns, and they see themselves as gods, really. They behave like gods. That's why Jesus is the Son of God from the house of King David. And this one is out of the house of King Solomon, who was the son of King David. We have to adorn and to worship these pharaohs who think they are gods. They pretend they are gods, raping our children and pushing into endless wars. And now, the whole feudal system coming back. This is why in Germany, this pyramid concept of 3 hand sign was found in a tomb of some Erev Rav pharaonic descendant, using of course the same letter type. It's so simple, people. Just like anywhere else in the world, there are the masters and the slaves. In this case, the JayWalker slaves and the Erev Rav pharaonic masters, both using the same Hebrew letter type. When Prince Charles, or his mummy, the Queen, writes in English, does that mean they are one of us? No, of course not. So if a Semitic master, also of the pharaonic bloodline, writes in Hebrew, showing Pharaoh's concept of three, does that mean he's a JayWalker slave? No, of course not. The normal JayWalkers I know through my YouTube videos, they're absolutely disgusted by these sort of things. And they're even more disgusted to find it on a tomb with Hebrew letters on it. I can promise you that. These are not JayWalkers doing these sort of things. These are all of pharaonic descent and Satanists showing their all-seeing eye, the pyramid, where they all come from. And the JayWalkers I know, like in Israel or in Los Angeles, they say that Israel is a fascist state with a Nazi government ruled by the Nazis. And these are JayWalkers in their so-called own countries. You know, it's everywhere the same, wherever you go in the world. Look, some more Nubian pharaohs. And it was the Nubian kings, actually, who enslaved and chained their own slaves, their own Nubian slaves, and put them in chains to sell them to the slave drivers, who were also of aristocratic descent. The white people never took any slaves or any Nubian slaves, not at all. The white people, the white race, we were slaves. We are still slaves ourselves, of kings and queens in this still very feudal times. Look, and this thing here has a skull of a reptilian on his chest. They're all doing it. Well, I'm gonna stop showing all these pictures. There's so many pictures of it. So you see, these sort of things, it's very old. It's not a new pop culture. It's from Egypt. It's pharaonic, and it's evil. And I don't know any JayWalkers personally who do these sort of things. It's by the ones who built the pyramids, who own the pyramids, and who rule now over us in their Freemason lodges and in their castles. That's why they came up now with the new triangular attack on humanity, and especially in Australia. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce its name, because the machine would recognize the word, and my video would be deleted in Pharaoh's total feudal dictatorship. Just look at the fourth letter in the Greek alphabet. Read its name for yourself and watch the image going with it, which you just saw on the Erev Rav tombstone, and all these pharaoh pop stars doing. Here it is: 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C, D. It's the fourth letter in the Greek alphabet, showing a pyramid with three angles for the concepts of 4 and 3, making the 7 the holy number of the pyramid. So it's the fourth letter for the concept of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it has 3 angles or 3 sides for the concept of 3, altogether making 7, the holy number of the pyramid. Saying to all their pharaonic Freemason descendants, square and compass. And the thing they call the York, here it says, the York Rite Royal Ark Triple Tau Apron Freemason Masonic label. So this is the triple tau, you see, the T, the tau, triple, because the tau in itself, it has a square in it, and it's a concept of 4, and there are 3 of them for the concept of 3. And it's all, I can't say the name, it's all this form, what all the pop stars do, and what you found on the Erev Rav tombstone. Here, it's all over, it's everywhere, everywhere. My whole damn page is full of it. So, with that new bug war attack variety, all royals and Freemasons know the whodunit part of the Pyramid War and Pharaoh's curse. You breathing in the mummy's dust. As JFK said, they're all hiding in secrecy, using scientific operations for their guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. And explain your kids watching Harry Potter what the Deathly Hallows really means. That it says square and compass of that death cult with their skull and bones, so therefore the name Deathly Hallows. And that all of them show the Deathly Hallows, meaning your death. And here it says Virtus Junxit Mors non separabit, which is Latin, and it means, it says here, what virtue hath joined, death shall not cast asunder. A phrase this secret organization has stolen out of the Bible, where the original phrase was, therefore, what God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. So the Freemasons just replaced the words God and man with virtue and death, because this secret brotherhood of perverts, pink list killers, and Satanists who come out of the Satanist Knights Templars wants to destroy the family so they can get hold of the children and turn them in something else than just a natural man or just a natural woman. Hello, it says, hello means a saint or holy person. It says a saint or holy person. And deathly means causing death, like Pharaoh holding humanity in a deathly grasp. It says deathly, it means relating to or causing death. Eh? So YouTube, where are you now with your protective child service, and you can't, you can't show any children, and, just another pretext to take off videos. But with Harry Potter, you have no problem, eh? So all these things like causing death, and is that any problem with the Harry Potter for our children, eh? Is that not a problem, YouTube? Do you hear me? The holy man and his deathly ways, as in Deathly Hallows, is the one being honored in a Freemason lodge, the all-seeing eye of the Horus Matrix. Well, you can all see the all-seeing eye here, can't you now? It's staring right at you. Here it says HP, which is not a computer, but it means Harry Potter. Here's the all-seeing eye, and the concept of three. Eh? And it looks like a snake's eye, like the one Pharaoh is having on his head, like at the mask of Tutankhamun. It's a snake's eye, the eye of a reptile. Go on, you go buy that lovely t-shirt for your child, or even more appropriate, a hoodie like this. It's the same anywhere in the world, people. And the JayWalkers make no exception. They are slaves and pharaonic masters. And the JayWalkers, together with the Nubians, were the first slaves of Pharaoh. Only some of the JayWalker women made it into Pharaoh's court because of the beautiful JayWalker chicks Pharaoh digged. This is the same story, the same thing going on, as today's aristocracy, Prince Philip and all the womanizers, the royal womanizers, and well, they're still doing the same thing, or just like King David, another womanizer, another pharaoh, same thing still going on today and throughout history. Now look, Ramses the second, in fact, had over 200 wives. It's the same thing. King David, the pharaohs, Prince Andrew, the whole lot of them, eh? And the harems of Egyptian pharaohs were heavily dependent on the pharaoh himself and how prosperous Egypt was during his reign. The pharaoh Amenhotep III, for example, had many wives, including many foreign wives, and potentially many hundreds of women in his harem. And Ramses II, that was the guy I just showed you, the mummy. He looked exactly like the French president, his descendant. And Amenhotep was specially known for strengthening Egypt not through conquest, but through diplomacy. His plan was simple. Since he had a surplus of gold and wanted to play nice with the rulers of various other super civilizations of the time, he would essentially trade various foreign leaders gold in exchange for their daughters, hand in marriage. These foreign princesses did not come to him alone, however. They each came with retinues of chamber maidens, female servants, and ladies in waiting, who would eventually serve as members of Amenhotep III's harem. Well, etc., etc. Yeah, another 370. Oh, I go on. Yeah, the first example of this was known from commemorative stone scarabs that spoke of his engagement to a foreign princess named Gilukepe, who brought with her 317 women. What a big party, eh? One for each day in the year. Amenhotep III married countless other foreign women, so it can be assumed that these other young girls brought at least many dozens of female servants with them. And this is why we have the first right. We got the first right in Europe, raping our women in the castle. Apparently the European women in the beginning, well, they didn't want to do this. So they had to rape and find a law to do it, They used prime noctis, the first right, le droit de cuissage, as they call it in French. Still the same thing, over and over again, like King David, Prince Andrew, and the whole lot of them, these royal rapists and pharaonic womanizers. Many JayWalker slaves of Pharaoh write me mails thanking me for me telling them a part of their own JayWalker history. Like my friend here, Rabbi Moshe from America. and many others from Israel and all over the world. This is what he wrote me on May 6th, 2021. And I'm very proud of this, that an intelligent man like Rabbi Moshe Perry, that he wrote me this. So he wrote me, I've been hunting for these pharaonic Swiss Nazi slime for 25 years and never came across your work until last week, when I was pursuing again the Priory of Sion in relationship to the probable authorship of the protocols framing we Jews for all of their vicious crimes against humanity. It's not true that the Jews won't help you. I'm an Orthodox rabbi in Los Angeles and I will help you. Problem with us is we are too timid and trusting of the powers that be, whom I call the slime that is, or just the slime for short. We just don't know any of this. We believe the lie that all conspiracies are hoaxes, shams, and sheer lunacy. But I, for one, immediately recognized the truth of your story and how it answers all of my outstanding, ongoing questions which have persisted for many years until now, and how it is making it possible for me, finally at long last, to connect all the dots on all the various thread lines of evil being perpetrated against us, against the whole world, not just against we Jews for the past 2,000 years. Thank you for that, Rabbi Moshe. I'm very proud of receiving this mail from an intelligent guy like yourself. People, I tell you, the JayWalkers, in spite of their numerous holy books, don't know everything about their own history, just like all the other slave peoples of this earth, by the way. This means the normal, simple JayWalkers are not the ones in control of everything on this planet, since they are desperately looking for answers themselves, just like the rest of us. As it should become evidently clear out of this next mail of Rabbi Moshe Perry from the US, that the JayWalkers are not the masters of the world, as Nazi Templars and Muslims try to convince us into. And for me, I find it absolutely fascinating how a rabbi recapitulates my information in his own words and out of his own world of being an Orthodox rabbi. Well, maybe Sean Ross will end up too in one of those impressive looking thick JayWalker books, hey? So I'll read it out for you. The Shemite plot begun by Nimrod, followed by Mitzrayim, it's Egypt, and Canaan. Now here's the whole sordid, sick plan they have operated under, never veering from it for over 4,000 years, since a couple hundred years after the great flood of Noah, when the Shemite clan, led by King Nimrod, turned against their brethren Shem and Japhet and devised a mechanism by which to conquer, enslave and rule over the entire earth, undetected until they could find a way to eliminate everyone, not them, and then have the entire earth to themselves without even God being able to stop them. They thought they had this won several times in history before, like at the Tower of Babel, but they failed. But here's the point. They have never given up, no matter how many times their satanic machinations were foiled, and now, as a result, 4,000 years later, they are on the verge of total victory via their evil, I call it Pharaoh's poison. Well, you can read what it is. I can't pronounce it because of the machine, people. There's more, but this will do. This tract in this video reads similar to the protocols of the Elders of Zion, who my good friend Dr. Sean Ross has proven was written by the Priory of Sion in Switzerland, in the town of Sion. The Priory are or were the spiritual and political head of the Knights Templar. They are not Europeans and were never Christians, only pretended to be. They're all pharaonic Egyptians who invaded France during the late Roman Empire in the year 300. They also came down north from Norway and may have formed the original feared, dreaded and loathed Vikings. In any event, these two entities built up all of Europe, all the castles and cathedrals. They even came to control the church. They comprised the entirety of the royal and nobility families of the world. To a man and a woman, they were all members of the Nazi Party. They own everything via their banks and fascist corporations. Before the jig was up in France, they secretly slipped away and established themselves in Switzerland, took the place over and declared a state in August of 1291. They have ruled from there ever since, and they are now about to close down and effectively end human history as we know it, unless we find a way to stop them. Truth out. Rabbi Moshe Perry, Los Angeles, America. Thanks, bro. Fascinating. And well, Rabbi Moshe doesn't even know that I'm quoting his mail here in my video here, so I hope he likes it. I hope he's not against it, but I guess he's not. He's a good guy. And you can see, you know, the JayWalkers too, they're desperately looking for answers, because the moment in time in human history is sort of desperate, ain't it now? So we should all team up together and forget the old quarrels now. The JayWalker diaspora did not happen because some invisible entity in the sky said, "You JayWalkers were disobedient to me, and you must go now." No, not at all. The answer is far more simpler. The Romans, 2000 years ago, were genociding the JayWalkers, just as those Romans did with the Europeans. Only the JayWalkers said to themselves, well, let's go somewhere else before the Romans kill us all. Which they eventually did 2000 years later, when the Romans called themselves Nazis, as all these attacks on humanity comes from Pharaoh and the pharaonic elite, whether it be the Romans, the Templars, the Nazis, American crimes against humanity, you name it. So all of a sudden, the pharaonic elite of the Roman province of Judea had no more slaves, as the JayWalker slaves had all hit the road, either going to Spain, the Sephardic ones, to Eastern Europe and Germany, the Ashkenazi ones, or going to other places in the Middle East, the Mizrahim ones. So here you can see it. It all started like in this area, in this era, sorry, in the 1st century, when Jerusalem was attacked by the Romans in the year 70. So these were the Mizrahim going to the other Middle Eastern places, like here too. These probably are the Ashkenazi going to the east, and these the Sephardic ones going to Spain, and all this. So in fact the name JayWalker is quite a good name, because they didn't want to walk where they were supposed to walk. So here you can read it one more time. It was the Bar Kokhba revolt, and many historians date this as the official start of the Jewish diaspora. And they didn't come, to take over control over the Europeans as the Nazis and the Muslims say. No, no. They just ran away because the Romans were killing them. And this Bar Kokhba revolt was, I think, in the year 130 or something. But it was during the Roman invasion. So it was because of the Roman attacks and the Roman genocides that these people, they just left, which was a intelligent move, It's a intelligent JayWalker move, and not walk on the pedestrian crossing, but somewhere else, and be a JayWalker. Don't do like as the officer tell you, eh? Very intelligent, good move. And with this, Zionism was born by the pharaonic elite of Judea, trying to get their runaway slaves back to Judea, or Zion, as they called it. So you see, dear Nubians, who always claim having been enslaved by the white man, white man was enslaved himself. So if white men was enslaved themselves, then who was the slave driver? Have you ever thought about that, huh? Well, it was the aristocracy of Pharaoh ruling over the Roman Empire, where no less than 1/3 of its white population were slaves. You can read it here. 1/3 of the population were slaves, and they were white. So who's the slave driver? Can you wrap your head around that? Or this here. It's not us, the white race, behind this all. And I'll prove it to you. I already have proven it to you. In the middle there's a square, and the circle around it represents the compass. So it says square and compass. And as the Freemasons come out of the Knights Templars of Pharaoh's nobility with their base Swaziland, so therefore the Swiss flag in the logo of the Ku Klux Klan. Because the big force behind the screens and behind Albert Pike was the Swiss Phileas Walda, which I explain in this video here. So go watch it if you want to know it, because I'm not going to repeat it all on my channel here. But it's difficult to find. If you put the title, it won't even pop out, probably, as I'm blacklisted. But try it, and otherwise it's on this channel here. Even all the slave ships belong to the Swiss, because the Knights Templars had and still have a huge fleet, controlling all the seas. And I give you all the Swiss names of those Swiss slavery ship owners in this video here. So I made it in 2016. I got a couple of views on this channel here. So here's the title, and here you can find it. If you don't find it, like punching in the title, then just scroll down. Go watch it. And of course this video here, which I made 10 years ago, you all see, the Swiss flag. It's the same as the logo of the Ku Klux Klan. There you go, there's the title. I made it here 10 years ago, in 2012, for almost 10 years. Well, in 6 months it will be 10 years then. Look, here you can see Lord Balfour. And it was Pharaoh's nobility in 1917, England, trying to get their JayWalker runaway slaves back through the Balfour Declaration by the aristocrat Lord Balfour, born in a castle and descendant of dukes, marquesses, and earls. And when I tried to find back the list of members of the Order of the Garter and tried to find Lord Arthur Balfour in it, which I've seen, and I filmed it in my last video, The Nobility World Wars, well, very mysteriously, it wasn't there anymore. Yeah, you can see that here. Well, it was somewhere all the way down. Now you don't see it yet. Oh, look. The whole crest has been taken out here. You know, yeah. The coat of arms of current knights and ladies of the Garter. I think this is where I watched it, where I found it. Oh no, here it was. Yeah, here it was. List of current knights and lady of the Garter. You know, it's gone. There's just a few left, no pictures, nothing. It was very complete. It's gone. Oh, they took it out, you know. Somebody took it out. And be careful, people. They're working on it to make my video disappear. The Nobility World Wars. So you better save it and put it in the ground and make copies because they're working on it. So I had to click on my last video and try to find it for you. So here at 2 hours and 43 minutes and 30 seconds, there he is, Arthur Balfour, number 865, and he became a member of the Order of the Garter in 1922. He even became the Prime Minister, the Earl of Balfour, you know, a pharaoh, yeah? So the Balfour Declaration was made by Pharaoh, and you have to think about it, you know? The JayWalkers, you know, they didn't have any say in this, you know, nothing at all, you know? Look here. Yeah, the Nobility World Wars on this channel here, so you can find it there. So it's still there, eh? But they're trying to take it off. That's quite clear now. And it says, let's storm the castle. So yeah, it's still here on this in this video, but they're trying to make it disappear. So you better save it for our descendants. Those bad things are coming up, people. You better save these things. I can't do it. You know, I continue to put my energy in making more videos. You have to do this. Copy it, spread it all over, like spread it like a peanut butter sandwich, or your ladies. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. So you spread it and hide it and save it because they're working on it. There he is, Lord Balfour, the first Earl of Balfour. So he was a pharaoh, and that's very important. It is the aristocracy. So the Balfour Declaration about, you know, was a public statement issued by the British government in 1917 during the First World War, announcing support for the establishment of a national home for the JayWalker people in Palestine, then an Ottoman region with a small minority of JayWalkers. So it says here it was the British government that decided over the JayWalker people. And of the British government, they're all aristocrats, of course. We're all pharaohs, so they decided it all. And what I wanted to show you, oh here, look. He also suffered, here in blue, he also suffered from public anger at the later stages of the Boer War, counter-insurgency warfare characterized as methods of barbarism. Well, they just don't want to say it, you know, the English, that they murdered 28,000, you know, white Boer Christian children, defenseless children. They just don't want to pronounce it. And especially, if so he was behind it as well, The guy was a butcher, like the entire aristocracy. Look, this is why he was born. Whittingham House. It's a bloody castle. Look at this pharaonic thing here with 4 pillars. Oh yeah, it's 4 pillars for the concept of four. That's us, the people, holding it all together. Like we are the pillars of them. And here's the concept of 3. This thing all the pop stars are doing, eh? Find it everywhere on the fronts of houses and palaces. I don't know really what it says here. Interesting. They got a nice sunroof whenever there is sun at all in Britain. Yeah. So this was not a normal person. This is the upper class, high aristocracy. And of course, he must have been. Otherwise you don't become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdoms. It's impossible. So, look. He, his father was a Scottish MP, Member of Parliament. Oh, look, also his mother, a member of the Cecil family. She's from the Marquess of Salisbury. Look. And look, they got the Order of the Garter in their coat of arms, you see. So it's been running in the family for a long time. And it's the Earl of Salisbury, the Marquess of Salisbury. His godfather was the Duke of Wellington. Oh, there you go. So I don't see any jaywalkers here. Not even a Rothschild or Rothschild, as you guys call it. There's nothing to do with the child. Well, they want to get after our children, though. Okay. Now you can read it all yourself, but what I wanted to tell you or show you, he did a lot of crimes against humanity all over. It's the British nobility, even against their own sort of British people. It's all one crime against another. One crime after another, sorry. So here he's like the hero. He's the guy who founded Israel. Look, I want to show you his personal coat of arms with the. There it is. That's what I wanted to show you. Look, that's his Order of the Garter thing. And here, this thing is a square, the black thing. It's 90 degrees, you see, because here it forms another square here with 1, 2, 3, 4, a real square, 4 sort of bubbles here. The bubbles like fitting into the. So it does say, this square for the concept of 4, then there are 3 stars for the concept of 3. So it does say square and compass. And of course it says square and compass, because if you're part of the Oniswaki Malipans, the Order of the Garter, you must be a Freemason. It's not possible otherwise. And then there are 3 sort of, what is it, a ferret. And this is red, of course, for the Old World's Order, where they all come from. And this is probably the coat of this animal. It's a ferret, isn't it? Let's have a look, if it's a ferret or not. So it was an Order of the Garter, and that's what it all has to do with, The pharaohs wanted to have their JayWalker slaves back, And Rothschild, Baron de Rothschild, is all pals with the British nobility. Well, is the JayWalker nobility, who are not jaywalkers. They all are pharaohs, but let's call it JayWalker nobility, just as we have English nobility or French nobility or German nobility. Rothschild he wanted to have his slaves and rule over their slaves, in where they come from Zion. So this is the whole reason for Zionism. It's Pharaoh who wanted to run away wetback slaves back, who were quite smart, to just run away. Very smart. So a ferret, 3 ferrets here. Well, let's have a look. Ferret, a ferret, a ferret, a ferret. Well, yeah, it's a ferret. It looks like a ferret. Total ferret, just gnawing, all our rights away under our feet, just like today. And his equally pharaonic nobility pal of Lord Balfour was the Baron Walter de Rothschild, or Rothschild in English, who wanted the JayWalkers back, because the house of Baron de Rothschild are the pharaohs entitled to rule over Judea and its recalcitrant runaway slaves, those disobedient JayWalkers, not at all being disobedient towards their God, but disobedient towards their nobility masters. And we all know this seal here is the seal of a king. It's the seal of King Solomon, a pharaoh, a king who was of pharaonic descent, as they all are. So this is Wikipedia, the Rothschild family. And look, here's their coat of arms. I know. These are pharaohs, people. This is the aristocracy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a coat of arms, right? Look at that. All pharaohs. Well, oh, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? So, so I don't have to go and look for if he's a member of the Order of the Garter, do I now? Because here's the symbol of the Order of the Garter. We got the unicorn on one side, Mon droit, as the Templars, they took their rights, and it's not chained here. So they freed it. You see the unicorn here. And on the other side, Dieu, the divine right of the aristocracy. There's the king. This is the logo of the Order of the Garter. Then there are 3 crowns, which is them, our masters. That's the sign, the concept of 3 for the nobility. Usually there's only, only 1. And here's the seal of Solomon, of course. Here's some. This is the, with tail like this. It is the. I forgot the name. The. Okay. So the problem was nobody has asked the question, why did the nobility want to have the foundation of the state of Israel? Because apparently the nobility wanted this. Why? Why does nobody answer that question or ask that question? It's so important because everybody is so, so on the religious dogmatism, the slaves are divided, my religion is better than yours, and and all this, and I've got a nicer skin and you don't belong here and all that, and this is exactly what Pharaoh wants, divide and rule. Why nobody asked that question? Why the nobility? But because apparently it is the nobility who founded that state of Israel. Well, the answer is very simple. Because at that moment, for quite a long time, for the last 2,000 years, there were pharaohs, nobility, who didn't have a country to rule over anymore. So they found themselves in other countries and they had to split up and one Rothschild in England, another one in Paris, another one in Geneva, and another one in Frankfurt. Because they didn't have any country anymore to rule over, because the slaves were gone. And that's what happened, people. The slaves were gone. They went on a jaywalk, eh? They went on a jaywalk, eh? It's a good name for the guys, a jaywalker. It's a perfect name. It's a name full of honor. Very intelligent, it's in their book, if you take up the sword, you'll die by the sword. And okay, they stuck to it, eh? So let's not call it the diaspora anymore, but rather something like jaywalkers went on a jaywalk, not wanting to cross the Roman pedestrian zebra crossing. And nowadays, which you can see here, nowadays people have a camping car and LED lamps. But in the old days, it looked like this, taking candles with them to see in the dark. Here you see, none of them wants to stand on the zebra, like, I did it my way. And here, after the ferret here, and the Lord Walter de Rothschild, Baron de Rothschild, the second author, and this is the first author, there's also the third author of the Balfour Declaration. Here it says, Leo Amery. So, also the first Lord of the Admiralty, Leopold Amery, was entitled to rule over Judea, then called Palestine. Leo Amery bears the name America in Demotic, A for big or pregnant, Me for pyramid, and Re for the sun, meaning in Pharaonic the reincarnation of the big pyramid of the sun. Yeah, A, Me, Ri, like in America. Look, and Leo Amery, they're all a bunch of pharaohs. He wrote a book, My Political Life, in a octagon. There's nothing by coincidence, people. All your accidentalists, who don't believe in conspiracies, who don't like conspiracy theorists, well, I call you accidentalists. So it means his political life was being led by the octagon. That's why he puts an octagon around it. And underneath here it says the unforgiving years. Well, you can't read it, but I promise you that's what it says. So they're all into secret societies. You don't know anything about it. The hidden hand, it's all secret. That's you don't know what's going on. It's all based upon a lie, which is their first weapon. So his political life was completely led by the octagon of the Knights Templars, and he was in the army. He was the first Lord of the Admiralty. Octagon, the Admiralty. And the fourth author of the Balfour Declaration was Viscount Alfred Milner. All four of them of Pharaoh's nobility, splitting up the world amongst themselves, as if it were a game of Monopoly. Only problem, how do we bring the wetbacks back, those JayWalker runaway slaves? We can't have an empire without any slaves. How are we going to do this, eh? So you see a Viscount, and apparently he was also a Baron. I don't know how they do it, being a Baron and a Viscount. And I guess some other people don't like him very much either. It says here, Demon Chief of the 7 Deadly Sins. This one was a very dangerous one. All of them. So here he's standing with the hidden hand, so, oh, he must have been a Order of the Garter as well. So, well, let's go and have a look, shall we now? He's in South Africa, killing, murdering 28,000 innocent white Christian South African children. So again, you Nubians and also Indians, how come, the white man is being murdered everywhere and in concentration camps, used as slaves? How come? I mean, who's doing it if the white man himself is the slave and being murdered and in concentration camp? So who's doing it, eh? But you probably don't want to think about that, eh? Because it's so much easier to say the white man did it and go and cry, or the JayWalkers did it, instead of do some good old real profoundly thinking about who really done it. So here, Alfred Milner, the first Viscount Milner, where you can fill up a whole 5-hour documentary or 10-hour documentary only about this guy and his crimes. I can tell you that. He also has ancestry from the Grand Duchy of Hesse, who were all in the Nazis, as I shown you in the other film. The Royal House of Hesse. Probably also Rudolf Hess, part of that, eh? It's not known, but look, he was in Southern Africa. What all the crimes he did there, eh? Ah, there it is. Look, that's what I was looking for. Let's have a look. There we go. So, see, Order of the Garter, Oniswaki Malipans. So that's why he's keeping his hand under his jacket, as we just saw before. So this is, of course, a pyramid. Probably the capstone in gold. It is gold. With a deer and a capstone. Well, how does that fit together? Or maybe this is the square, and here you got the compass, like it should be a bit higher. What these things here, I have not a clue. Weird things. There are 7 of these things, the holy number of the pyramid, which is the concept of 3 and 4. So it does say, in a way, square and compass. And it says also all about his time. Oh, he was in the Afrikaner Bond. The Afrikaner Bond. There was the Freemasons in South Africa who sold out South Africa to the Zulus, for instance, who were not even the first persons in South Africa. But okay, that's also another story. I already explained that in a couple of videos on my older channels, which they took away. So-called anti-imperialist political party, the Afrikaner Bond. Well, forget it. Forget it. Yeah. And it also says here, he was in Transvaal, the Second Boer War. Wow. All the crimes this guy did, eh? After the war, he became a businessman here in South Africa. He had some good contacts with Cecil Rhodes and all that. Rhodesia. So it's all about, making a lot of money and to protect all the money and the wealth so they don't have to work a single day, and neither do their children and their grandchildren and all the descendants afterwards, to protect it. They have to lie and lie and lie. Use the newspapers, use the media, to keep us under control, to protect all their wealth. They are in politics, here it says. They are in politics, they are in business, they are in wars, they are in secret societies, and they're killing us by the millions. Right? And there are no jaywalkers, people. This is the aristocracy. It's of Pharaoh. They're all pharaohs. It was that again, the Dulles Conference. Well, it's the next war he's in. Oh, the First World War. Also a secret gathering here. Yeah, Lord Milner, he's with Winston Churchill here. Well, they knew each other, of course, from South Africa. You know, how they were, just like Prince Harry, do some good old fox hunting in South Africa, eh? Children foxes, white South African children foxes being chased down by the nobility, eh? Well, okay, well, I can go on for hours about. Well, there he is. The first Viscount Milner of the KGB. Okay, well, that makes sense. A High Commissioner for Southern Africa, arriving in the Cape in May 1897. So this was like a local king over the South Africans, eh? A local pharaoh. So this Viscount Milner, he also played a big role in the murder of Boer children in British-made concentration camps. These are the ones responsible for it all. The Killer Kings and their Freemason political order of the lie. Here, look at this, Theodore Herzl Lodge. And therefore, it is no wonder that there are Freemason lodges in Israel by the name of Theodor Herzl, the guy who organized the first Zionist Congress in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland. Only 20 years, and I repeat, only 20 years before the Balfour Declaration. The Freemasons would never call one of their lodges after a non-Freemason. So this means that Theodor Herzl was a Freemason, for 100% sure, and working for Pharaoh's nobility, and probably also one of them, to get those damn runaway slaves back to where they belong. This is a statement by Theodor Herzl. If whole branches of jaywalkers must be destroyed, it is worth it, as long as a jaywalker state in Palestine is created. So this cold-hearted statement of the Freemason Theodor Herzl can be interpreted in two ways. But as Zionism was too big an organization organized by the British high nobility, it must therefore be assumed that it's a cold-hearted statement by that part of Pharaoh's nobility who were lawfully entitled to own and rule over that chunk of the world where the original slaves had left, and for which political endeavor the death of a few JayWalker slaves is just some collateral damage in the eyes of Pharaoh's geopolitical monopoly. So finally, in 1948, the British nobility founded the state of Israel, as they finally had their runaway slaves back. Or does anyone here believes that the all-powerful British Empire, ruled by Pharaoh's nobility, just gave Palestine away to them jaywalkers, just like that, and all for free, in 1948? And in the end, the whole thing got covered up by a layer of religious hocus-pocus with a magical Freemason wand, like in the Harry Potter film, that the invisible entity in the sky made it all happen. My question is, then why going through all these troubles to make it all happen? If Harry Potter's magic wand could have done the trick right away. So, the foundation of Israel was man-made, or rather Pharaoh-made, with their lions, their crowns, and their castles. Here you can see a British Palestinian passport with a Templar cross and the unicorn, the Order of the Garter, the lion, and the crown. So it's quite clear through this passport that the crown, Pharaoh, the nobility, and the Order of the Garter with their Freemasons were ruling over Palestine, and they are still ruling over Israel today. And just as in Australia now, with all the crimes against the people going on by the servants of the crown in their worldwide blue army uniforms, also in Palestine there was this blue worldwide army, the British Palestine Police Association, under the Order of the Garter here in blue. This represents the Order of the Garter from 1920 to 1948, and it says, "A job well done." A job well done, terrorizing the people over the whole bloody world. And we can see it happening today, eh? A job well done. So here it says, from 1917 to 1948, going deeper with Britain in Palestine. Oh, that's what I just did. I went deeper with Britain in Palestine. And don't be so stubborn with each other, you know. These are the masters, and they're not the white race either. It's Pharaoh. Wake up, people. Mystical happenings exist, though. Like when I received the name Gure as the name of my channel here, which was the name of my channel I made 10 years ago, and which got deleted like 5 years ago, which happened in a French castle and coming out of the void with absolutely nobody around, for which during the 30 years ago when it happened, I have found no other historical reference other than in the name of Giora, of Simon Bar Giora, exactly like Gure, the name of my channel, who apparently was a Gentile and led the JayWalkers into the first anti-Roman uprising in the year 70. So here you can see it, Giora. It's like Gure, Giora, Gure. I've never found any other word in these last 30 years since it happened so similar than this one. So here you find him in Rome, here, Simone di Giora, on a stone plate in Rome, where they have a lot of all the slaves, all the slave uprisings of of all the peoples who wanted to free themselves of the Romans, where they got murdered in Rome. They got, you know, tortured and dragged in the streets, you know. And here it says decapitato, decapitated. And he stands together with Vercingetorix, also decapitato. And Vercingetorix in the year 49 before Christ, and Di Giora in 70 after Christ, in the year 70. And Vercingetorix was the leader of the Gauls in France, in nowadays France. and was also murdered. The Romans cut out his eyes, and then they put him in a cage for I don't know how much time, and then dragged him in the street, or the whole cage, is to show it to the people. And Simon Bar Giora, like here Giora, the word Giora, just like Giure, it means Simon, the son of strength. So Giora or Giure, it means strength, or Simon the strong one. And he was also apparently a non-JayWalker, a so-called Gentile, and the guy who taught the JayWalkers how to become a wetback and cross the Rio Grande, officially called the diaspora, and leave the place to continue living somewhere else. We're all in a terrible fight for life or death now, in which the physical death of the entire human race after Pharaoh's bug war agenda is worse than one's own personal death. So don't be afraid to do what you need to do to save our children from these lying creatures, because there are so many testimonies now in the internet about life after death, like this fantastic Netflix documentary called Surviving Death, and many other documentaries on the subject, which existed vividly in the belief system of the ancients, taken away from us by these Romans. So we all believe Pharaoh's hopelessly useless 10 Commandments now, and absolutely useless in this nasty situation we're in today. The biggest reward after is only for the brave at heart, who withstood the tyranny in total engagement towards the enemy.